Greg Peterson here, and I want to thank you for listening to the Urban Farm Podcast. We wouldn't be able to keep doing these great shows without you. So as a token of my appreciation, I'd like to offer you access to a list of our top 10 episodes I personally find most inspiring. If you enjoy the Urban Farm Podcast but don't have time to listen to every one, then you will love this list. Although all our guests have great information to offer, if you are short on time, these 10 are must-listens. To get access to the top 10 most inspiring podcast episodes, text FARMER to 44222. That's FARMER to 44222. And enjoy listening.
You're listening to the Urban Farm Podcast, your partner in the Grow Your Own Food revolution. Whether you've just been introduced to urban farming or you're a lifelong advocate, we're sure you'll leave feeling more informed, equipped, and empowered to dig deeper into the soil of your local food economy. With you every step of the way, here's your host, Greg Peterson.
Today on the Urban Farm Podcast, we have Quita Jackson to talk about her experience with Thrifty self-sufficiency. Quita is one of the founders of greendesert.org. And while some would call her an urban farmer or a gardener, she prefers to consider herself spiritually connected to Mother Earth and her environment. She loves everything about nature. Greendesert.org is all about showing people ways to be more self-sufficient, whether you're gardening, making your own clothes, recycling, or making your own cleaning products. Every little bit counts. Quita is all about living the lifestyle. Everything from maintaining a rich garden with herbs, vegetables, and fruit to raising chickens and tilapia, using a water generator to make water from humidity in the air to collecting rainwater, and the list goes on. She is quite passionate about this topic because she believes that we are all in this together and must recognize how our actions about the environment affects others. In addition, saving money is a huge priority for her, and of course, that's a huge part of being green. Welcome to the show today, Quita.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here because I'll let everybody know that you and I have known each other for a while. And
forever.
Forever. And I've actually done some media with you too, so that makes this doubly fun today.
Yes.
So I shared a bit about you. Can you fill in the blanks for us and share more about the path you took to get where you're at now?
Oh, my goodness. How long do you want me to talk, Greg? No.
We've got days. That's fine.
Well, Greg, as you know, because we've known each other for so long, I wanted to garden forever. My husband and I talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And we were deterred from it because, you know, everybody talks about how hard it is. And we have our everyday lives of going and going and going. Mm-hmm. And then, Greg, I met you.
Oh.
And for you listeners out there, one thing about Greg that really just is so inspiring is he is the lazy gardener. At least that's what I call you, Greg. That's what you used to call yourself.
Well, that's what I call myself that too. It's just easier that way.
Well, but you know what? The nice thing about the lazy gardener is it shows people it really isn't as hard as you make it out to seem.
Yeah.
And that way it's not so discouraging.
Right.
So really it was seeing how you just kind of threw the seeds out and waited for things to grow that really motivated us even more to get started. So we started with a small garden and it just grew and grew and grew and we got the kids involved and then it went from gardening to let's be self-sufficient. Let's think about the planet. Let's just leave things in a better place than we found them, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really how we got started. And from there, we just kind of grew. My website, greendesert.org, that's all it does. We have a YouTube page, Green Desert TV, and all we do is show people ways to be self-sufficient. And that's my goal. I want to do it for free because Mother Nature does it, and why shouldn't we, you know?
Yeah. So you do videos. You actually came here and did a video with me a while back. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Of all the videos you have done, which one stands out as stellar? Like, tell me that story. And it's not mine. I'm not looking for mine. So pick another one.
Of course. Put me on the spot. Oh my God. You know, I've done hundreds of videos. Mm-hmm. You know what, really though, I would say one that stands out the most for me, it was one of our first videos years ago and I wasn't even in it. And all it talked about were the secrets to having a successful garden without spending a whole lot of money. And I think that's one of the things that deter people is they think they have to spend so much.
Right.
And so in the story, that's kind of what we talked about is those secrets, especially after that first year, saving your seeds. So you no longer have to pay for seeds because you're using your own, collecting rainwater. You're not worrying about, that water bill.
Mm-hmm.
We have chickens, we have fish, we can eat out of our backyard. That's pretty much what that story showed is how you can do that and not be overwhelmed.
Right. How does that make you feel that you can actually eat out of your backyard?
Oh my God, it's amazing. In fact, here in Arizona, the summertime, that's more of our melons and that type of thing. But it's the winter garden that I'm in love with because that's all of my food, my greens, my everything. So come the summer, I am actually disappointed that I have to go to the grocery store for produce.
Right.
Although we're working on that right now too.
Oh.
We're working on that. We're doing a lot of hydroponics in the house.
Oh, nice.
Hubby originally was an engineer and he just can't stop his brain from going. So my house is a huge experiment all the time.
How cool
so
is
it is.
that?
It's the best thing. Being able to eat out of the yard. And what's even nicer, Greg, is I have two boys, a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. He'll be 14 next week.
Wow.
And they are into the garden. One of them are in charge of the fish. One's in charge of the chickens. We make Sunday our day in the garden. So it's not an overwhelming thing, but it's something that we can really get the family involved in. So I'm real passionate about it. It's really exciting.
I can tell. Oh my gosh. I got a smile going on over here because you've gotten them so involved. What kind of changes have you seen in your sons since they started engaging with fish and chickens?
The biggest change I would say is how compassionate they are towards animals in general. Our chickens are like our babies. I mean, we cuddle, people laugh at us, but they are our babies. And for the boys, it's taught them responsibility, but mainly they're compassionate. My youngest, he is actually the one who goes out every night to lock up the coop. He checks on the chickens. He comes in, he talks, he gives stories. It excites them. And that to me is wonderful. My boys know that food does not have to come from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Nothing against grocery stores, but if we can do as much as we can on our own, why not do it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I remember a couple of years ago you were quizzing me about this whole notion of aquaponics. And so you've jumped in the pond, pun intended. You've jumped in and ventured into aquaponics. How's that going? What have you eaten some fish yet?
Here's the funny story behind it.
Please.
So it is going great. I mean, it is the most awesome thing because we have tilapia, and then the main thing about it is that the fish create such rich soil. And it's not dirt soil if you know aquaponics. You have your pellets, but the aquaponics actually our vegetables grow way faster and way better and way bigger than in our regular garden. And that's the wonderful thing. Now, when we first started, we did eat the tilapia. But as I told you, everyone has become a little more sensitive, when it comes to the chickens and fish and everything else. So it was my husband who was the one who said, babe, I can't do it. I don't feel right eating them, because they got so comfortable. When you walk over to the tank, you put your hand in, they come up to you because they trust us,
Right.
So I know the goal of it was food, but, we're still getting food from the garden, but we have not eaten the fish in more than a year.
Wow. You know what? Yeah, I hear you on that one. I've recently started experimenting with a plant-based diet about 3 months ago. But before that, I was not a vegetarian. And I'm about taking on big things in my life. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I figured, all right, I'm not a vegetarian. I still eat poultry. So I took on we raised about 25, over a 3-year period, we raised about 25 meat birds, chickens, and about a half a dozen turkeys here at the urban farm.
Wow.
And, all the way from chick to plate, and I did the whole process myself. And when I got done with that, I was a lot more appreciative of what it takes to raise a healthy animal to eat, number one, and number two, I got to where you were at. It's like these all of a sudden these friends of mine in the backyard. How can I do away with them? So
Exactly. And we always say, if people had to actually kill their own food, I think we'd have more vegetarians.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I will say, we are actually pescatarians because even though I don't eat my fish, we have not gotten off fish completely. But, for us, it didn't even start with, us being friends and them being our family. It more started with us watching so many documentaries and things about how these animals were treated, what we were eating. And it was just heartbreaking. And I didn't want to have anything to do with that. And that's kind of what started us kind of going in this direction.
Amen to that.
It was more of the treatment, and we had even said, if we raised our own, then maybe it would be okay. But then, we got to the whole compassionate and,
right, exactly.
and went down from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not down. It's not down. It's, it's just, I think for me,
we changed.
It was, it was just a learning process. And it's like, all right,
Yes.
now I've hand raised this, this beautiful animal. Do I want to butcher them? And,
Right.
For me, I got to know, so much so that I don't eat meat anymore.
That's impressive because
yeah.
it's a hard thing to do, especially when you've been eating it your whole life.
Right.
And everywhere you go, that's what's out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
So good job, Greg. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, and you know me, I'm all about experimenting. It's like,
Yep.
let's just try this, see how this works. And you do the same thing. Tell me of one of the cool experiments at your place.
Well, the experiment, the latest experiment is just another hydroponics. We've got different systems throughout the house. And what we're trying to do is have lettuce and cilantro, that's what we're growing right now, year round.
Oh.
So, the lettuce and cilantro doesn't really like the heat. So
Right.
come summer, that's when I'm at the grocery store. So
Yep.
I will tell you the last 2 summers we have had lettuce and cilantro in the summertime. And that's so awesome. And what's even more great is that this particular hydroponic system is right next to the kitchen. So I really don't have to go anywhere. And that's so fun. There was my lazy again.
That's right. Absolutely. That is what we call not food miles, not food feet, but let's go to food inches, huh?
Right.
So food miles is the amount of miles that your food travels from where it's raised to the plate. And I'm going to kind of put you on the spot again. You have any idea what's the average amount of food miles for food in the United States?
Oh my God, I have no idea. Yeah. Tell, don't tease me.
1,500 miles is, yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Really?
So, yeah, you've reduced it to inches. That is so cool.
Well, that just doesn't make sense. And I'm telling you, Greg, that's the goal is that just doesn't make sense. We have too much land, too many ways here for it to not be the case. We can do so much of it on our own.
Yeah. Amen to that. Hey, interesting statistic that I found in it was June of 2011. The FDA came out and said that 2/3 of our fruits and vegetables come from outside of the country. And
why?
Most of those could be raised here. Obviously, papayas and mangoes and bananas are a little tougher. To close to impossible, but most of the rest of those we can just raise them right here.
I don't get it. Greg, you and I, we're going to get together and we're going to make it happen. We got to let it. We're going to make it happen.
Not going to. We are.
We're going to make it bigger.
Yeah, exactly. So Ollas, that's an interesting word. OLLAS are part of your plan. What are they? Tell me about them.
They are the greatest invention ever. So Ollas, it's just like a clay pot. And it's a type of irrigation. The pores on them, it's enough where we bury the Ollas, in our soil. And then the great thing about them is the plants take the amount of water they need. You don't have to worry about overwatering or underwatering. Right. The plants know what they need and they take it. So as long as you keep the Ollas filled, the garden takes care of itself.
Lazy gardener alert.
See?
Yeah.
It's so awesome. I'm telling you, it's the best thing because I will say when we first started gardening, one of our biggest issues, it was watering. We would overwater, we would underwater, but everything just seemed like it was dying.
Right.
And we couldn't get it together. Eventually we did figure it out, but when we found the Ollas, it was it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so we have them all throughout all of our garden beds.
Where do you get them?
You know what? There's a website online, but actually a lot of local nurseries carry them as well. Yeah. They're all over the place now, so they're pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Cool. That is OLLAS if anybody's looking for them. So
check out your local nursery. That way we can start local first.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So you do more than just gardens. What other lifestyle changes do you encourage?
I think anything that will leave less of a footprint on the environment is worth doing. So yes, we do the gardening. We collect rainwater. In fact, for our backyard garden, now we have a garden in the front and the back. For our backyard garden, in the winter, we don't use any city water. It is all rainwater.
Oh.
And, people assume because we're in Arizona and it's the desert that we don't get enough, but you would be amazed at how far that water will go. We have a gray water system, and that we only use on our fruit trees and our grapevines. We have a medicinal garden in the front, and that's more things that, actually are here to the desert. You've got your aloe, everybody uses that. We have feverfew that helps with cramping and headaches.
Oh, nice, right.
It would be, you'd be amazed at how much you can find just by looking online and then just experimenting. I like to make a lot of things from the garden, so I'm not going, to the store. I make my pesto and my pickles and relish. And then, I give a lot of it away as gifts. And that's saving me money, too.
Nice.
Because, Greg, I'm like the cheapest person you'll meet, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So I do a lot of shopping at resale stores. I believe in recycling big time.
Absolutely.
And then, my kids' clothes, if we're not taking them to, resale stores or places like Goodwill, I'm handing them down to other family members. Just anything that we can do where we're reusing things and we're just not making things worse on the environment.
Yeah. Good for you on that.
I'm trying.
So this was a curious thing for me. In your bio,
yes,
you are making water from the air?
Yes, we have what's called a water generator. And it started off as an experiment, and we did not think it would work because we're in Arizona, and really how much humidity do we get? But you would be amazed. And that's all it does. It takes humidity from the air, and it really looks just like a regular water cooler. It takes humidity from the air, and it makes water, and that's our drinking water.
Really?
Yeah, really. It's that simple. Now, my husband, like I told you, he's he just has to experiment with everything. So on the days where we felt like because I cook a lot with water too.
Right.
So there were times when we would run out of water. So he said, nope, I don't want to go back to buying water and this and that. Let's figure this out. So then he hooked it up where we have a humidifier, and he turns it on next to the water generator, and there you go. It's making more water. It's amazing. And so all of our drinking water, that's what we use for our drinking water.
Well, and then essentially you have distilled water there.
Exactly. And oh my God, if you tasted, everyone who comes over, it is so thin and clear. I mean, it's like you're at a spring.
Yeah.
It's delicious. In fact, I'm going to have you come over for some water.
I'm there. I'm there. I'll see you in a little while.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Not for dinner, just for water.
For water, yeah. So where did you get a water generator from?
We found, it was someone locally. We just were out, when you're just out walking around, and somebody sold it to them locally. Now I see them online. If you type in water generator, you'll see them all over the place as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
And I have a link on our site too.
Okay, good.
Cool. If you want me to send that to you.
That would be good for the show notes page here, yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I can definitely do that.
Because I'm looking.
But we've had it for more than, it's been 6 or 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
And we bought it thinking this thing isn't going to last, but let's at least try to get our money out of it. And we got that and more. And so we already decided if this one breaks down, we're definitely buying another one. This is something so worth investing in.
Wow. How cool is that? Because I'm looking online, and they started, a couple $100 all the way up to a couple $1,000. So.
Right. We did. We paid about $1,300 for it. Wow. But like I said, do the math. If you're buying bottled water every day and you're using it for drinking and cooking, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
And I suppose it's going to work better in places like Florida that's more humid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're not using the plastics and everything else for the water bottles, and it's a win-win all the way.
Yeah, cool. Cool. So how are you sharing all this with others?
I share it actually on our website, or like I said, the YouTube page. That's mostly what we do. It's Green Desert TV, and we just do video after video after video. And that's really the gist of it. That's how we do it, as much as I can tell and share. And we go to events, and, you know, that's it. It's more of a word of mouth thing.
Nice. What was the last one you did?
The last video we did, I'm still editing it right now. And it's actually talking about the 5 best fruit trees that you want to plant that you can use all year long. Don't put me on the spot and ask me what those 5 are, because it's not in my head right now.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, because Jake Mace has got his top 10 trees. But there are so many. I don't even know. I can't even imagine boiling it down to the top 5 or top 10, unless, of course, you ask me for my top tree, and that's, you know.
What are your top 3? No. I would say moringa. Definitely, you got to throw that moringa in there for one of them.
Yeah. Well, the top one for me is the Desert Gold Peach for here in the desert. It is an amazing, amazing peach.
Yum.
You know, and then the Trovita Orange is another amazing orange that ripens in January, February. So they're starting to get ripe now, which is really cool.
So now, what's the difference in those and just, you know, what we're familiar with, regular orange trees?
Oh, wow. There's so many different orange trees, though. You know, you got your Arizona Sweets, which are for juicing, and you know, they got a thin skin and they're hard to peel. And then there's like a Valencia, which is also for, you know, that's also for juicing, mostly, again, hard to peel. The Navel Orange and the Trovita oranges, those are both really nice oranges. They're easy to peel. They ripen. You know, we get a nice ripening window on them from starting in early December into, you know, February. You know, so we get a good 90 days out of them. So
nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I do like my citrus.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you, we called ourselves planting a lemon tree, or at least what we thought was a lemon tree. And then it turned into these. They looked bigger than grapefruit. And so we thought, what did we do? I don't understand. I don't want to eat that, because that's not a grapefruit and it's not a lemon.
You got a pomelo.
So you are right. I had no idea. And yes, that's what we have.
Oh my gosh.
We almost chopped the tree down.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you didn't. Pomelos are one of my favorite citrus they're so hard to get a hold of.
Well, now you know where to find it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Cool. So I'm going to shift on you, and I'd like for you to talk about a time you failed, how you overcame that failure, and what you might have learned from it.
Failure. You want me to get sad or not? My biggest failure, we recently lost some chickens to coyotes.
Oh.
And what made this an even bigger failure is, Greg, I had actually just interviewed you. I had just talked to you, and you had lost chickens to some type of predator.
Bobcats,
and yes, you know, we never really locked the chickens up. We've always just wanted them to roam. And I knew to lock them up. Everybody said to lock them up, but I mean, it's been more than 5 years and we never had a reason to.
Yeah.
After I did the story with you, after I found out about your experience, we said from now on, we are locking the coop. The girls are because I mean, they go up in the coop and sleep anyways.
Right.
Well, yeah, we just so happened, and I was so grateful that it was my husband who found them. But because the kids are normally the ones who go out in the mornings and they let the chickens out, and, you know, all of that. He went out there and he came back and he said, we had a predator and 3 of our girls. Aww. And the worst part about it, you know, I understand the whole cycle of life and all of that, but he did not eat them. He didn't eat them. He just killed them. Yeah. And we had cameras, so we actually saw the coyote. And that was so devastating. It was so devastating for the family.
I'm so sorry.
But we overcame it, because what it did was it made us do what we should have been doing all along.
Yeah.
And that is lock the chickens up.
Absolutely.
And it actually caused my kids to have an even closer relationship with the chickens. We had 2 chickens left, and then we went out and got 3 more. But it caused them to have an even closer relationship with them. They appreciated life even more, you know, because It really was a tragedy. It was
yeah.
traumatizing.
Yeah.
It really was traumatizing. So I overcame it. It won't happen again.
Yeah, exactly.
It won't happen again. We locked the coop, we reinforced it, and that's what we did to make sure that we don't have that happen ever.
For our listeners out there, we're in this pretty much in the middle of the 6th biggest city in the country, and recently in our neighborhood we've had bobcats, raccoons, coyotes, foxes, and javelinas. And you know, most of those, obviously not the javelinas, but the rest of them are predators to chickens. And I had never had a problem. I've been keeping chickens here at the Urban Farm since 1999, and I'd never had a problem until this last summer. And so we have just completed this morning a 500 square foot, we called it the super coop. It's an indoor predator proof, concrete lined around the edges, wire, not chicken wire. We use welded wire fencing over the top of it to keep the predators out. So I said to Heidi, I said, you realize this is the rest of our life chicken coop, don't you? And she laughed and said, yeah, because that's so important. And I can't state the importance of, making sure that you keep your animals safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're part of the family.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to take care of them just like you would your kids.
Exactly. So what do you consider your biggest success?
My biggest success, you know what? I'd have to go back to the kids, getting the kids involved and really, really changing their outlook. I think, the kids, they're the ones who are next. They're the ones who has to take care of this place next. So for me, that's a huge success that they really, it's not, I'm doing this because mom and dad says so. It's because it's something they really want to do.
Right.
And it amazes me listening to even their friends. They're educating other people. Some of the things that come back when they don't even know we're listening. It is amazing to me. And that's a huge success. So I would have to say it would definitely be the kids' involvement.
Oh, I hear you. Good for you. Good for you. What drives you? Why do you do what you do?
You know what? I think it's just people. I am a big people person. I have experienced so much good and bad, and I know what we are capable of. And it just drives me to see people happy and to see us do things that, like I said, with the food, oh my God, the way it tastes, it's so different. And I just get so excited about just new things, but new things that I know we all can do. Yeah. And, I get really down when I see people really taking advantage of, this place was given to us. And, a lot of us think we can't do this, we can't do that. Well, if Mother Nature can do it with no help from anything else, like with water, and people say, I can't garden, but how many volunteers do you have in your garden?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, people say, it doesn't make sense to collect rainwater, but my rainwater is saving me money. It's better. It's for my vegetables. You know what I'm saying? So what drives me is that it's just so much that we're capable of doing. And I think there's so many good people. There's some bad ones out there, but there's so many good people out there. I just think that if we could come together as a community, imagine how great things would be.
Yeah.
And I think that's just huge. I think it's huge. You have a lot of underdeveloped people that don't have the things that we have. And I feel like we really, as a society, we take advantage of a lot of things. And so, just imagine how much it would be. And not just for here in Arizona, like for the world. We wouldn't have so many people starving and fighting and the racism and the prejudice. It just doesn't make sense to me. So my goal is just to do my part. And I think if everybody did just a little bit, imagine how huge of a difference it'll make.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
I know I talk so much, Greg.
No, that's beautiful. I was going to just challenge our listeners out there to take on something, because I preach about this all the time. How do things get done in the world? I'll ask you that. How do things get done in the world?
Right, and it's the people.
Right.
It's all about the people.
Yeah.
And I know I talk a lot about gardening, and everybody isn't into gardening, and that's not all that Green Desert is about. Green Desert is really just about being more self-sufficient. And it doesn't mean you're living off the grid, but every little bit that you can do, whether you're making your own clothes, collecting your rainwater, making rain, growing a garden, whatever it is, it's your thing. And it's just one little thing. And that's the advice that I always give people. You don't have to just dive in and do a whole lot. Start off small. Because when you start off small, you're more likely to be encouraged to do more.
Right.
If you take on too much, you're discouraged and you end up giving up.
Yeah.
I think, but the more you do in small, just a little at a time, you're going to be inspired, and you just don't know how many people you're affecting and what it does for your life in general,
Yeah, exactly. I had an interesting thing happen here a few years ago at the Urban Farm. I do tours here at the Urban Farm a couple times a year. And this woman came on a tour, and she was really interested and asking a lot of great questions. And when we got to the backyard, she kind of sheepishly stuck up her hand and she said, I'm a little overwhelmed here. Where do I start? And so, and the advice that I gave her was, pick one, maybe two things that look interesting to you. Start there, get really good at them, and then move on to something else. That's...
Yep. So we have this new radio podcast that's called In the Green Room. And the way this started, it's a whole nother thing about saving the planet. In fact, our motto is saving the planet one show at a time.
Nice.
And one of our challenges to businesses is when you make something, have a plan on how it's going to be recycled so that it's not being thrown in the landfill. I mean, that's where it starts, because we as consumers, we're going to buy what you give us because we feel like we need it.
Yeah.
And that's bad on our part. But for a business, I don't think businesses understand how much of a part they can play in saving this environment. So anyways, that's what this show is about. It is not just businesses, but everybody doing their part. Like I said, just a small part here and there.
Yeah.
So every week, that's what we do. Every week we have an hour show, and we talk about, here are some ways, here are some things we can do. We have fun with it, of course.
Cool.
But that's what it's about.
Nice.
That's what it's about. So that's another way that I'm trying to spread the message and hopefully do my part, and leaving this world or environment the way we got it.
So where does one find your show at? I'd like to listen in.
Sure. So the show, it's every Tuesday at 6 p.m.
So it's live.
You can go to the website. Yeah, it is live. You can go to the website and listen to it live at inthegreenroom.green.
Oh, nice.
We also air the shows live on Facebook. And our Facebook, again, it's inthegreenroom.green. And so you can watch it live, listen live, or it'll be right there in iTunes for you to listen to it as a podcast after the show airs. So every Tuesday night at 6.
Fantastic. So today's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
Who's on the show?
Second show.
Yeah. Who's on the show today?
So we've got two big guests tonight. We've got the CEO of Goodwill. And Goodwill happens to be one of our main sponsors. And I have to tell you, the thing about Goodwill, growing up, Goodwill is where you go and you get cheap clothes and you donate your clothes. And that's all I knew. But oh my God, I did a tour and I was amazed at how much they actually do and how much they actually teach. They even have a whole career center to help you get prepared and actually get that dream job you're looking for. They recycle everything. Things you didn't know could be recycled, they recycle. It was just, it was amazing. But anyways, that is our main guest. And then we have another guy who actually is a Marine, and his story was so amazing to me because I think a lot of us take for granted, these guys, they go over there, they're fighting for us, they come back, and it's a whole new world for us.
Yeah.
And so our particular guest, he had to come back because he got hurt. And his story as to how he tried to get back into society and having a job and relationships, and it was just things we don't think about.
Yeah.
So anyways, those are our two guests tonight. And then we have a couple of giveaways. And then, Greg, we have what we do every week. It's called Garden of the Week.
Oh.
And all it is you get on our Facebook page. Again, it's inthegreenroom.green. You get on the Facebook page, you post a picture of your garden. And you write a little 1 or 2 liner about why you think you should be Garden of the Week. And then because I don't want to be the bad guy, we let the peers vote.
All right, good.
So whoever has the most likes wins a gift card to a local nursery, and you get bragging rights. You're the Garden of the Week. I'm going to need you to get on there for tonight.
Okay. All right.
Don't forget.
Okay, good. I'll do that. How fun is that?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I hope it really, really gets that message out.
Yeah.
I really do.
One of the things that as we've indicated, we've known each other for a very long time. One of the things that I always have loved and appreciated about you is your enthusiasm for all of this. You just take it and run with it and go. And I think that's a big piece of being successful really anywhere. Do what you love and then really go do it. Can you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. My day job, is what pays the bills is Smart Shopper. It's ABC 15.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about saving money, so I won't say that's not my passion, but the environment, it just gets me going. I don't know what it is. You know how you get the little tingles and everything that gets your body going and warm. Yep. When I think about what we're doing, that's just how I feel. And that's what comes out. And it just excites me, Greg. It really excites me. Even with cooking, I know when I was younger, I loved cooking. And then it became a responsibility and it wasn't as fun because it was something I had to do.
Right.
But once I started gardening, all of my recipes got so much more exciting. It's hard not to be passionate about it. It really is. And these days, there's so many people joining the fight. It makes it that much more intriguing. It just ignites the fire.
Yeah. I like to call it joining the revolution. It's a peaceful revolution to transform our food system.
There you go. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So what one final piece of advice do you have for our listeners?
A final piece of advice, I have to go back to everybody has to do their part. You have to do your part, and it's not something that should overwhelm you. It's a simple thought. It's start small. You don't have to garden. You could simply recycle. A lot of people are doing the part and they don't even know it. If you've ever bought clothes at a resale store, you're doing a small part. Now, I don't want you to stop there, but it shows you it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So every week, say, what did I do this week to help us get closer to this fight, to help us get closer to doing what we know we should be doing? Yeah. So I would say my advice is start small. Do your part. Don't overwhelm yourself. Spread the word and be open-minded. Don't be so closed-minded to change because change is not always bad.
Yeah.
It's how we choose to think about things.
Exactly.
So it's all about our choices.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing your experience with us today, Quita. It has been a treat getting to chat with you and catch up.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to catch up too. And now you have to come over. You got to visit. Now you've got to get those, what did you call the lemons?
Oh, the pomelos.
Pomelos,
yes.
See, so now, so I so appreciate you having me. Definitely, you're coming over for pomelos
and a glass of water. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you, Greg.
So how can our listeners get a hold of you?
You can just go to our website. It's greendesert.org, and all of our contact information, our social media pages are there. And then if you want to get a hold of me through the radio podcast, that's inthegreenroom.green.
Perfect. And thank you so much. You can also find today's notes on the podcast at urbanfarm.org/green desert. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on the Urban Farm Podcast. Greg Peterson here, and I want to thank you for listening to the Urban Farm Podcast. We wouldn't be able to keep doing these great shows without you. So as a token of my appreciation, I'd like to offer you access to a list of our top 10 episodes I personally find most inspiring. If you enjoy the Urban Farm Podcast but don't have time to listen to every one, then you will love this list. Although all our guests have great information to offer, if you are short on time, these 10 are must-listens. To get access to the top 10 most inspiring podcast episodes, text FARMER to 44222. That's FARMER to 44222. And enjoy listening.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen 3 days a week for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.